What separates successful startup founders from those who crash and burn? It's not luck, it's not their product, it's the skill they have. After coaching over 50 startups and building 2 startups myself, I know exactly what it takes to build a successful business. And in this video, I will show you the 5 skills you need to build your successful startup. And most importantly, how you can learn those skills. Make sure you stay till the end, because I've got an amazing bonus for you. Now, the only question is, do you have what it takes to build a successful startup? Let's find out. Let's start with one of the most important skills as a startup founder: problem-solving skills. You're going to face a ton of obstacles every day. And here's the thing, you won't always have a solution right away. But what sets successful founders apart is their ability to solve these problems quickly. So why is this skill so important? Well, because your startup journey is unpredictable. You may face technical difficulties, market shifts, or even people leaving your team. And if you cannot solve these problems quickly, well, you won't stay in business for long. So how do you learn this skill? Well, it's all about adopting this problem-solving mindset. Here is how I did it. Remind yourself every single day, no matter what problem comes next, I can solve it. Don't hope that there will be no problems, because that's not going to happen. Instead, tell yourself that you can solve any problem that comes your way. Now, I want you to take a second. What was the last big problem you faced in your startup? How did you approach it, and could you have handled it better? Think about it. Okay, now that you have built up your problem-solving skills, it's time to focus on a skill that is just as important, but often overlooked by founders. As a founder, it's easy to get overwhelmed. You have so many things to do, and your calendar is packed. I know how that feels. To overcome this and build a successful startup, you need to develop one specific skill: the ability to see your big vision, but focus on the small but important steps. So why is this skill so important? Well, because you need to have this big picture vision to know exactly where your startup is heading to. But then you need to break it down. You need to break it down in those smaller action steps to know what next steps you're going to take. Without this skill, you will either feel lost or you will be constantly distracted by things that don't matter. So how do you learn this skill? Well, it's such an important skill, I've made an extra video for that. You can check it out here, but in short, it works like this. You write down your big vision and then break it down into smaller action steps, your milestones. And each week, you focus on 1 or 2 milestones and work on them until they are completed. That's the best way to make sure you stay on track. The next skill you need to learn as a startup founder is one of the most underrated skills in the startup world, but it's also one of the most important ones: storytelling. Whether you're pitching to investors, selling to customers, or trying to get new team members, if you can tell a compelling story, this can make all the difference. And the reason is simple, because with a great story, you can create this emotional connection. So how do you learn this skill? Well, there are 2 ways. First, study great storytellers. For example, you can watch some TED Talks or just read some books on storytelling. And second, you have to practice it. So start by telling your own story. Think about your own startup journey and craft a story around it. Like, what problem are you solving? Why does it matter? And what challenges did you overcome? These 3 sections, the conflict, the stakes, and the resolution, are the foundation of a great story. Hey friends, we get back to the video in just a second, but I've got something special for you. My exclusive Startup Survival Guide, completely for free. You will learn how to avoid the most common startup mistakes and what it takes to build a strong foundation for your business. All in just 5 minutes. This guide is packed with actionable resources, powerful frameworks, and pro tips that you can use right now in your startup. 90% of startups fail. Don't be one of them. Check out the first link in the description below and download your free Startup Survival Guide. Let's get back to the video. As a startup founder, you will constantly face tough decisions. So one of the most important skills is decision making. Sometimes you'll have these two paths in front of you and you just don't know which one is right. But hey, here is a secret. I can definitely tell you what's wrong. When you don't make a decision at all because you're so afraid of making a mistake. That's the worst thing you can do. So that is where this skill comes in. The skill of decision making. Successful founders know exactly how to make decisions quickly and confidently, even with limited information. But most importantly, they know if they make the wrong decision, they can still fix it later on. So how do you learn this skill? For me, it helped to constantly remind myself that my decisions are not final. If I'm wrong, I can still fix it later on. I mean, none of my decisions have to be in place for the next 10 years. So that was super important to me to take away that fear of making a mistake. And second, before I make a big decision, I write down the pros, the cons, and the potential risks. Writing it down can help me make up my mind. I think the most important part here is to remember that it's always better to make a decision than to not make a decision just because you are afraid of making a mistake. The next skill I'm going to show you is an absolute game changer. It's the secret weapon of startup success. It's the skill of emotional intelligence. As a founder, you work with people all the time, whether it's your team, your customers, or your investors. And emotional intelligence is your superpower as a startup. It helps you connect with people, and that is super important to build trust. But it's also the most difficult skill to learn, because you have to become more self-aware. You have to pay attention to how you react in different situations, and you have to practice empathy. Now, I know a lot of startup founders who, let's say, could improve their emotional intelligence, but they're still successful. So, to build a successful startup, you don't necessarily need emotional intelligence. But trust me, if you have emotional intelligence, your startup journey will be much easier. Now you know the 5 skills you need to build your successful startup. Now, I really want you to practice these skills. So I have created an extra checklist for you that you can print out and stick on your wall to help you develop those skills. The link is in the description below. But hey, here is the thing, knowing these skills is just the beginning. Check out this video where I will show you 10 pro tips on how to build your successful startup. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more pro tips and powerful frameworks on how to build your successful startup. I'll see you in the next episode real soon. Bye bye.